Congratulations for SpaceX for landing their SN10 Starship prototype. This was an incredible sight to witness and watch online or live. There was an abort in the beginning, but roughly a few hours later, Starship took off in a mesmerizing display of ingenuity and progress. Third time's the charm, as they say, with SN10 being dubbed this nickname prior to taking flight. So many reasons to celebrate here as SpaceX takes us one step closer towards getting to the red planet. And since we're on the topic of the suicide dive, let's continue our series regarding SpaceX's Starship and what hurdles SpaceX needs to overcome in order to secure humanity's place amongst the stars. Hi, I'm Ohms and welcome to OmzLaw. Today's analysis will be based on the experiments and research done on board the ISS by NASA, the Canadian Space Agency, the European Space Agency, and the Russians. And I've left links for all of the information discussed today in the description below. If you're new to the series, then please make sure to check out the previous videos as they feed into this one, and I've also left a link to that playlist below. Before I started the series about Starship, I was a huge advocate for colonizing Mars, but after going through the various complications and hurdles that humanity needs to overcome, now I'm just not so sure anymore. To recap, we discussed last time NASA's research into the risks involved with deep space missions, and we spoke about the different groups under RIDGE, short for space radiation, isolation and confinement, distance from Earth, gravity fields, and hostile closed environments. We focused last time on the distance from Earth, so make sure to check out that video, and today we're gonna focus on the different gravity effects that the body experiences after a prolonged stay in 0G. These effects may vary in intensity and recovery time, and they're not organized in any manner below. So let's start off with the most obvious ones, which have to do with muscles and bones. Now, bone is the most dangerous one, and 3 to 6 months in space takes up to 2 to 3 years of recovery time, and in some cases we're not even sure if some bones can recover. Muscle, on the other hand, takes about a month or so. When you lift weights, your muscles hurt. The same concept is at play here. When astronauts return from long-term missions in space, they sometimes need to be carried away on stretchers. Gravity here is acting as a signal, telling the bones and muscles how strong they need to be. In 0G, muscles atrophy quickly because the body perceives it does not need them. The muscles used to fight gravity, like those in the calves and spine, which maintain posture, can lose around 20% of their mass if you don't use them. Muscle mass can vanish at a rate as high as 5% a week. Hold on to these numbers as they'll come in handy next time. And just a heads up, it's about to get worse and more confusing, so buckle up. For bones, the loss can be even more extreme. Bones in space atrophy at a rate of about 1% a month, and models suggest that the total loss could reach 40 to 60%. Many astronauts suffer back pain for years after returning to Earth. In regards to human blood, the effects are also quite shocking. On Earth, blood collects in the feet. When a person stands, the blood pressure in their feet can be high, about 200 millimeters of mercury. In the brain though, it's about 60 to 80 millimeters of mercury. In space, the head-to-toe gradient vanishes due to the lack of gravity. Blood pressure equalizes and becomes about 100 millimeters of mercury throughout the body. This is apparent in the videos whereby astronauts look odd sometimes, their faces filled with fluid, puff up, and their legs, which can lose about a liter of fluid each, thin out. This shift in blood pressure sends a signal confusing the brain to think that there's too much blood. Within just 2 to 3 days of weightlessness, basically the journey one way to the moon by the way, astronauts can lose as much as 22% of their blood volume as a result. Sure, the recovery time for this is fast, basically a few days, but this is something the astronauts have to fight against on a daily basis. The lack of gravity in space also has an impact on the body's vascular system, causing circulatory problems for astronauts when they return to Earth and an increased risk of a heart attack later in life due to the walls of the carotid arteries thinning out in microgravity. The remaining effects here are easily reversible, but they're worth a mention. Membrane parameters, for example, from the experiments with unicellular organisms and various cell types of immune cells and neuronal cells, it is well known that single cells react to changes in gravity even though they do not have dedicated gravity sensing structures. One of the major components that all these cell types and organisms have in common is the cell membrane. These complex structures, which are mainly composed of proteins and lipids, have been monitored to have a change in the fluidity of the membrane due to microgravity or hypergravity. Ion channels, for example, are crucial for neuronal communication. They form controllable pores through the cell membrane, and charged ions can diffuse through these pores, following electrical and chemical gradients, changing the electrical properties of the cell. And different gravitational effects have been recorded to have some influence on these pores. The effects of gravity on the immune system is also something that has been studied rigorously, and is a long one to say the least, and I've left a link for that as it is way too long for this video. But essentially, the way your nervous system behaves under the influence of Earth's gravity differs in space and differs on Mars. Over half of the Apollo astronauts had some sort of immune problem when they returned from the moon, implying that their immunity got weaker. So what are the solutions for these problems? Exercise is the key here, but exercising in space differs from exercising on Earth due to, again, the gravity problem. However, various devices have been developed to mimic the help that gravity provides. One Russian experiment provides resistance by strapping jogging cosmonauts to a treadmill with bungee cords. But that particular combination has not yet proven effective in preventing bone loss. There's also IRED, a NASA-developed interim-resistive exercise device which consists of canisters that can provide more than 300 pounds of resistance for a variety of exercises, but its effectiveness is still being monitored as well. There are other devices that I've left links for, and NASA is heavily researching this, but I think for now we can come up with our own assumptions. We're out of time for today, and we have not even discussed the varying gravitational forces that are going to be experienced on the journey. But from what we have so far, one thing is pretty clear. We need gravity on Starship. We need to be able to mitigate these effects, which will be unlike anything anyone has ever experienced. We haven't even gone through the other effects in Ridge, and this is proving to be more difficult than climbing Mount Everest completely naked. What is also clear is that SpaceX needs to test out this entire system on the moon first, with a moon base. I mean, these effects will be immense there, and any space agency that wants to do this and not get people killed will have to test this out on the moon first. There isn't even enough data to measure up against a full Martian mission that spans 2 years. Moreover, it is pretty clear by this point that this whole 2-year journey needs to be sliced in half. Besides the introduction of the thermonuclear engine and rotating Starship by using 2 others, we can look at our nearest neighbor, our long-lost twin, for a solution to this problem. And that's all I have for today. Let me know what you guys think of SpaceX's progress, and we'll elaborate on the gravity problem in the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, as that will help me grow this channel and will help you keep up to date with future videos. And I'll see you guys next time with more content about space. And as always, thank you for watching.